Hey guys, Scott from Aristocob.com here.
And Seth from theshrinkingpastor.com.
Together, the three of us. We're Mark Woodman's Breakfast Club, and welcome back. Good morning, boy.
Good morning.
You appear to be wearing the same clothes as you wore last week. I should stop pointing that out, shouldn't I?
Appearances are deceiving. I could be wearing no clothes.
So are we. So are we. It's like this. Boy, show 'em how you do it. Oh, look at that.
Wearing a new t-shirt.
This is up moron magic.
But where did the thumb come from?
All right, so today we are going to smoke. We're going to dip back into our Tewksbury and Company tobacco sampler, and we're going to smoke Bar Harbour, boy,
or Bar Harbour.
And I'm going to smoke it in my Morgan nose warmer, also affectionately known by me as the 320 of the Missouri Meerschaum line. Not the 420, the 320.
Right. It could be.
Tell us about Bar Harbour.
Bar Harbour. Our Harbour.
What?
Our Harbour blend is
the 320 of the
is our second bestseller behind the legendary Hobbit's Weed Blend. Oh. This is a fire-cured black Cavendish,
nice,
with a medium coarse cut for a slow-burning, cool smoke with no bite. They all say that.
They all
a touch of coffee and vanilla
even
flavoring.
Even Bitey McBite-a-lot
No.
said that.
A touch of coffee and vanilla flavoring is added for a sweet and very mild taste.
Okay. We will let you know what we think about that.
I don't care for coffee.
That's difficult to load out of that little teeny
I like my coffee
baggie.
About 1/4 coffee and 3/4 creamer. So if they did 3/4 vanilla and 1/4 coffee, then I will be quite happy. Yeah, this needs to be poured out.
Yeah. So, Boy is smoking for the very first time one of the new Hannibal.
This is a very black, very dark tobacco.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what they call that. It's the Hannibal series. You all know the Mark Twain pipe, but they've also, Missouri Meerschaum has also come up with one called the Tom Sawyer and the Huck Finn. And I'm not sure which is which, but basically they both begin with the same bowl that's used on the Pony Express, and there's the tiny one. And in this case, they use a shorter shank and then a smaller miniature bit. And in this one, I don't know if that's a short or a standard shank, but with a longer bit. So
it's almost like a tiny nose warmer, that one.
Yeah, so very, very similar. Here's an actual Pony Express, right? So you can see how this one has a longer shank, but a short bit on it. They're new. We've got them. I don't know that they're even. I don't know that we've made them go live on our website. Maybe I should do something about that.
They will be live by the time you watch this video. I guarantee it.
Which one of us is going to talk to Jandy about that?
I have nothing to do with the website, so.
I have very little to do with the website myself. All right, so let's talk about your weekend last, where you went shooting with Josh.
Yeah. If you missed the video, it's 2-3 videos back. I think it's called Dinosaur Hunting Gun. I went to the shooting range with my friend Josh. Now, he is fortunate enough to be able to afford the hobbies that he enjoys. And so he has a relatively nice collection of guns. And we like to get together and go to the shooting range when we can. He lives about 2 hours away and has a family. And we don't get to see each other as much as we'd like. But what's nice is he's one of my best friends, and his wife is one of my wife's best friends, and so we're able to get together and hang out and kind of split and do boy-girl things too. So
it's kind of a Brokeback Mountain kind of thing. I haven't seen that. I'm assuming that's what
we go around riding ponies. I think is what happens. We piggyback.
My understanding of it.
We piggyback and try not to break each other's backs.
There is a definition of broke back, right?
Yeah, I know. Speaking of broken backs, let me tell you about this gun. So we shot a bunch of stuff, and he had this new pistol that he wanted me to try out. It's a revolver. It's a Smith & Wesson 500 dinosaur hunting T-Rex killer, or tank gun. I mean, it's crazy. It's
a what? What is the
about this long? It's a Smith & Wesson revolver. It's about this long.
But I mean, is it a 357? Did you say?
No, it's a 500 or a 50 caliber.
So 50 caliber.
Yeah, it's a 50 caliber. So it uses the same gram bullets as you would use if you're a sniper and you want to shoot somebody that's 2 miles away in a handgun. Someone said, "Hey, let's take that sniper rifle and just hold it like this."
So it's for home protection, but it's for protecting several homes away from your home.
Yeah, against like a swarm of grizzly bears in a row. Yeah, oh my gosh. Yeah, it is crazy. And the reverb alone. So he sets it up. And like I said, we've shot a bunch of stuff. Now, right before we shoot this, we've been shooting a Ruger 22 pistol, which has
BB gun.
No kick at all. And so, I knew to brace myself, but he fires the first round, and it is you feel a shock wave through your entire body. Your body gets a massage, and after he's fired, we turn around and see that there's just a row of people lined up at the glass behind us.
Because they all
like,
heard
what
that.
in the world was that? Yeah, it's insane. And so he had 3 levels of bullets there. He had a lower gram, lower speed, lower power, and then a medium and a high. After shooting the low, my palm hurt. I mean, it has a ridiculous amount of kick. This is a gun, if you've ever seen videos on YouTube that people will give to various people without giving them too much warning about how bad the kick is going to be. And so it's the one where there are a bunch of videos of people smacking themselves in the face with it because it just...
Hopefully with just one bullet in it.
Well, sad that you should say that because there actually was an instance where someone shot themselves. They had 2 rounds in there and the gun came back up.
Whoa. And
they pulled it. Yeah, so that was tragic. But and so I was only shooting 1 round at a time just to be safe. So after the first shot, this is stupid. Nobody needs this. This is stupid and awesome. I want to do it again. I decided to go with the heavy round on my second shot. There was no need to build up.
You didn't think you could make it to 3.
That's right. There was no need to build up. It hurt. It hurt. There is no need for that at all. But I ended up shooting another low round, and even that one is painful. It really makes no sense at all.
Did you hit anything that you intended to?
I'm a great shot with it. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to miss when it's taking out this much in one shot. The first one I hit a bullseye. The second shot I was a little off because I was basically at that point, yeah, it all becomes psychological. You just don't want it to happen again. And then the third and final shot, I knocked out the X in the center of the paper. It was a great way to end the night. It was awesome.
Now, you also got in trouble because you weren't supposed to be videotaping.
Yeah, they came over the PA system and said, no photography. and I had no idea. They had a small picture posted up that about it before you get in that we didn't see. So thankfully we were able to catch enough on video for.
You got the one with a muzzle flash. Was that from your video?
Uh-huh.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, I just did a slow-mo screen capture on my phone and got it. I mean, you could use, if you only had the muzzle flash, you could use it to light a fire. It's like a fire-breathing pistol. It's crazy. It's absolutely insane. You could use it to weld. I'm pretty confident.
Okay, so in addition to the gun, you were also going to spend some time becoming proficient at using your Pakistani throwing stars. How did that work out for you?
I am a proficient ninja. What are we doing today?
We're exercising random acts of stupidity.
Yeah.
We got a swinging water bottle.
Uh-huh.
4 throwing stars.
Yeah, we do.
And we're going to swing
And the wives aren't here.
And the wives aren't here, which is the most important key ingredient.
All right, hit it.
We want to swing it again?
Yeah. Now. It took too long with your intro.
My bad.
Don't hit me. Two points if you hit the bottle, 10 points if you hit the string. Oh,
I didn't get the bottle on the first
man.
one. It bounced off.
Check this out. So close.
Where did my 4th layer on?
This is awesome. We're having too much fun. Thanks, wives, for letting us have a play date. Josh, how many throwing stars have I thrown?
1.
All right, let's go take a look. Oh man, I can't believe I didn't get that on footage. I'm awesome. Josh and I spent. They have a old picnic table in the yard that we stood up on end. We spent about 3 hours playing with these 4 throwing stars. We would take 2 at a time and back and forth. It took us a long time to get used to the. There's one of them that's shaped like a. That's pretty much like a solid square. And has notches cut into the ends. And so that's the hardest one because you have to get it right on the corner or if it hits on a flat side, it just bounces off. Yeah. The other ones are much smaller points, and so it's hard to... it's easy to miss.
But there's many of the points.
But even the one... There's one that only has 4 points, but because it's a narrow point, if it hits, it sticks. And so once we figured out how to throw them, and we discovered that there are two ways that you can be good, get them to stick and do well. Either throwing them really softly and letting the throwing star actually do most of the work. Almost like throwing cards. If anyone's ever done that, it's all about the rotation and not about power. If you try to throw a card, it's not going to work. But if you just flick it with your wrist and get a good rotation on it, it flies like a frisbee.
Before or after the shooting?
This was after. This was today. We did the shooting last night.
So, what do you mean? This is morning, several weeks after.
What? I don't know.
When did this happen again?
I don't know what he's talking about.
This is Wednesday, October what?
I know. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
You shot first, then you threw the throwing stars. How was your wrist through that?
It was fine. But the other way is if you actually chuck the stars, they fly pretty well. So we set up some targets. Then we set up a 2-liter bottle filled with water, which is a little terrifying when the very first time you hit it, it hits and bounces back at you. So we got pretty proficient at that. And then we actually hung the water with some rope and swung it back and forth and just tore it to pieces. It was a lot of fun. That was the most fun I have had for $8 in a long, long time. We're gonna get a bunch more and just play. It was a lot of fun. When you think that we probably spent between ammo and the range fees like $200 for an hour and a half of fun at the range, those shells for that are $1.50 $1.50 or $2. No. I forget how the math works. We shot six. Oh, they're $3 a piece.
Wow.
Yeah. So we shot six between us. That was $18. So we spent probably $200 at the range. $8 for cheap throwing stars. So next we want to upgrade to throwing knives and
Did you
hatchets.
sharpen those at all?
No.
Yeah, see, those were not sharp.
Well, the points of them were sharp.
Right.
And that's all that really mattered. The bladed side, the sides of them are kind of ground down to a blade. Doesn't matter. It did matter when we were trying to cut the rope that the swinging bottle was on.
Yeah.
But we did realize, too, the other problem with that is it was suspended vertically, and we throw them vertically. So we hit it a couple of times, but it's just going to be hard to cut it. We were talking about that for next time. We're going to suspend it horizontally and have it weighted so that when it cuts and hits, it'll pull loose.
So if you were to stumble across someone who's hand over hand climbing from one building to the next on a rope, you could take the rope out then, because then you'll be well versed in that.
That's true.
That's good.
That's true. We did throwing two at once. We did Jackie Chan style. We would face away and turn around and throw real fast. Yeah, we were doing all sorts of stuff. We had competitions back and forth, and it was fun. A lot of fun. I highly recommend, if you want something dangerous to do in your backyard, definitely.
So those were from Smoky Mountain Knife Works. Mm-hmm. Have you since gone and found them on Amazon or?
Amazon doesn't have them. Amazon, all of the things that they were selling on Amazon are foam ninja stars for Halloween. Amazon has throwing knives and throwing hatchets, but Smoky Mountain Knife Works, you can order stuff online, and the same set that I bought for $8 in the store is $7 online. Plus, you're gonna have to pay shipping. But
what a deal!
I know. Well, I mean, it probably ends up being $10 with shipping. Mm-hmm. But and they, we got some dents in them and bent them out a couple of times. So we just took a pair of pliers and we were able to straighten them out, no problem. And for what it was, I would recommend buying the cheap ones to just mess around with. And then if it's something you think is awesome and you want to do more often, then you could upgrade then. But it was not at all a disappointment. So, and when I first got them, I was kind of not scared, but being very gentle with holding them. And by the end of the day, I'm like, pick these suckers up. Let's go.
It'd be so gentle.
Yeah. Speaking of guns, El Magnifico asked me a question a couple weeks ago. I posted a video where I talked about my concealed carry permit. And he asked a question in the comments that I thought was a very good question. And so I asked him if it would be okay if I addressed it here. And he said, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
The question was, what need does a pastor have for a pistol, for a gun? So the first answer is because they're fun in the proper context. Going to the shooting range, if you have land and you're in a safe place to do it, it's fun. It's fun, especially if you've got a buddy or two that likes to go shooting and you can enjoy yourself there. I had never gone to a shooting range before buying my pistol, and since buying it, I am able to go pretty frequently. So that's the first reason. It's just recreation. But more to, I think, probably the heart of the question is in the real world. And
but even before your concealed carry, there was a reason to possess the gun.
Sure.
Right?
Sure, yeah. And the concealed carry just makes it easier to possess it
where you are.
Right. Yeah, so one of the things with being a gun owner and being a responsible, non-criminal gun owner is that you hope and pray that you never have to use it to take a life, to harm another human being, because that would be life-shattering. And so, with that in mind, it becomes a very big responsibility to own one and to have one, to keep one in your home and, on your person. But there's also the world in which we live is not always a safe place, and not everyone that has a gun is a responsible, law-abiding citizen person who has a respect for human life and has a respect for not being cruel to others. And so I think that that there's it's necessary to recognize that there are bad people, and they are not. What's the best way to say that?
They're not adverse to arming themselves.
That's right. That's right. And even if they're not armed, one of the reasons why I carry a knife with me often is, and it's not the primary reason I carry a knife because I use a knife, but I carry one just in case something were to happen. And there have been 2 or 3 instances where I was standing. One time I was outside of a pizza place, and there was this guy who was looked like an MMA fighter, huge muscular dude. He had his shirt off and was yelling at a woman in a minivan. He was punching her window, was trying to get to her, and kept walking back and forth. He was pacing back and forth. His girlfriend was there trying to pull him away, and so he would go to leave. He would go to leave, and then would get ticked off again, and would turn back around and start punching. He would have destroyed me in any sort of physical confrontation. And so, but I felt that I had to do something. So I was there talking to him. I was standing, between him and this car where this woman's frantically calling the police. And I was putting myself in a physical situation where I could have been really badly hurt, but somebody needed to try to calm this guy down, and someone needed to try to help both him from doing something stupid and the woman that he was trying to do something stupid to. And at the end of the police ended up coming, and at the end of the whole thing, my mom said, what would you have done? What would you have done if that had happened? And my response, my response to her kind of shocked her, and said, well, I hoped that it wouldn't have been an issue and would never have come to it, but if I needed to, I had this in my pocket, and would have defended myself, would have defended somebody else. So as for owning a gun, I own it because I want to protect my family. I think that it is the responsibility of all husbands to do that for their family. I think that that's biblical. I think that there's a misconception that in the Bible that there's a call for absolute pacifism. Jesus was not absolutely pacifistic in his dealing with religious people in particular, but all people. Nowhere does Scripture indicate that that the New Testament is the only answer, the only place that we should look to for how to live. In fact, to the contrary, it says that all of it is good and truthful for learning things, and the Old Testament is wrought with instances where people are called by God to defend themselves and to defend their people and to defend their families. In fact, I pulled this up in Luke 22:36. I won't read it.
It's New Testament.
But New Testament. Jesus, actually, I will read it. Jesus tells, he tells his disciples, he says, 36. He said to them, "But now let the one who has a money bag take it, and likewise a knapsack. And let the one who has no sword sell his cloak and buy one." So he's telling people, prepare yourselves. Prepare your friends for defense. Arm yourselves. And then some people will say, well, in the Garden of Gethsemane, when Jesus is confronted by the Roman soldiers, Peter pulls out his sword, cuts off the ear of a soldier, and Jesus rebukes him and says, don't do that. Those who live by the sword die by the sword. But the answer to that is he also tells him to put his sword away. He doesn't tell him, get rid of your sword. And he also tells him in, I believe it's Luke, in the same scene, he tells, or no, it's in John. He tells them in the same scene, he says, look, this is my cup. He says, this is why I am here. We have to let this play out, basically. And so, the reason that I have a gun, the reason that I have one, and that I have the ability to carry it with me places I feel like I need to, which is almost never, almost absolutely never. So the reason that I do that is to protect my family, first and foremost, because if something were to happen to them, I don't know what I would do. I don't know what I would do. So I believe that that's my call. And so in part protecting them also means taking care of my weapons safely, keeping them out of the reach of my child, future children, making sure that they're locked away and in a safe, taken care of in a safe manner to protect them from those as well.
Now, I'll add one more thing to this. My parents live in Littleton, Colorado. My two little sisters went to Columbine High School, and they live very, very close to the school. And they have firsthand experience within their community with people who were meaning to do others harm, and they did it until the point came where they knew that they were going to face resistance from someone who was also armed. Yeah. And also in Colorado, there have been a couple of occasions where people went into churches and were shooting people. And so absolutely, my dad is a part of a security group within his church. It belongs to a very large church. And they have folks that are armed at the church because they're not going to allow a gunman in to wreak havoc unopposed. It's not going to happen. And so, I absolutely support this decision that Boy has made. It makes sense to me. And he's a responsible gun owner. And I absolutely support that. And the fact that as Americans, we have the right, and with that right comes responsibility. And I'm happy to know most law-abiding gun owners are responsible people. At least the folks that I've interacted with, I felt comfortable around them, even knowing that they were armed, right? Yeah. And so, I've also been around people that it would have scared me to death if I had found out that they were armed, right?
Yeah, and it's also scary. It's scary to see some of the people, and to be in a place where there's signs up that don't allow any weapons. When you have a situation where the bad guys who aren't going to listen to the posted rules know that none of the good guys are going to be there to offer resistance. Yeah, that can be scary.
That's why that's why you get shootings in schools. That's why you get shootings in public buildings.
Just recently in North Carolina passed a law that allows for adults, basically, as part of your concealed carry permit, to have their guns locked away in their vehicle on school property. So, in the event that someone has a pistol in their glove compartment and someone comes into the school and is wreaking havoc, that's a step in a direction.
So they now have, let's just say, a greater likelihood that they could find some resistance to that behavior. So that might act as a deterrent.
That's right. Yeah. Oh, the other scripture verse that gets thrown around with this discussion too is the where it says, Jesus says, you've heard it said, an eye for an eye, and a tooth for a tooth, but turn the other cheek. And that's another one that it needs to be understood within the right context, that some of the religious leaders were taking upon themselves to be the judge, jury, and executioner at the time. And Jesus was saying, we need to let the law be the law, and we need to. You also need to stop asking for a greater punishment than it is needed. So that's another one that gets brought up. I'd be happy to answer any other questions or rationale if you post them, send them. But I thought it was a good thing to go ahead and address.
Okay.
At a place where it was easier to say a lot. Sorry.
All right, so on that note, we're going to wrap this up. Folks, thanks for joining us today. Make it a great week.
Check out MMBClub.com if you want an awesome poster or a cool t-shirt. And as always, visit mywieneryourmouth.com to be up to date on all the happenings. See you guys later.